I got Lucas McGill here. Tommy Lepore here from Blue Springs South. Brett Norfleet. Hello everyone, welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. If you didn't get a chance, go check out the podcast from Tuesday with Dave Pinning. We talked a lot about what's going on. We looked at the first half of the season with Game 7 Baseball and what's coming up. We're looking at the season coming up. We're going to be out at the World Series. Looking forward to that. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll be out at the skills competition with the podcast. We had a lot of interviews with the kids at the skills competition. It was a lot of fun last year. We even had Coach Perkins out there sitting down talking with the kids at the World Series, so it was a lot of fun. So make sure, please check that out. And if you're looking for a good tournament, still out there, game7baseball.com. Guys, today on the show, we have a very special guest, back-to-back state champions, Coach Ryan Stegall from Liberty North High School. Coach, congratulations. It was a huge win. Kudos to you and your staff and all your players.
We appreciate it, and thanks for having us on. We actually watched your all's podcast. It was live both days from the stadium, trying to get a little extra info each day. Hoping you may provide a little something for us on some of those teams we didn't know the best. We scouted them out the best we could, but we were always looking for a little more. So we were definitely watching y'all down
there. Well, that goes right to the guru up there. He's the man with the plan, Mr. Kevin Mulder from Prep Baseball Report. Kevin was dishing out some knowledge there, as always. Kevin, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great.
Very good. And from Hotlanta, Matt Shadow with Midland Baseball. Matt, thanks for joining us. You guys are out there at the NPI tournament. When do you get started there, buddy?
We have practice today in a couple hours, and then we start tomorrow night. Our 15s play tomorrow morning at 8:30. So I'll be at that, but we start tomorrow night.
Very good, very good.
So we opened up in 2019, and basically there was a void in the area. I mean, we saw that there was an opportunity to have a retail store where people could come in and actually touch and feel the tangible object that they're buying.
So we're going to get right into this, Coach. I was you guys had posted on Twitter the collegiate baseball's top 30. You guys came in at number 30. That's pretty good stuff. And I know Prep Baseball Report in their early preseason. I haven't looked to see, and I don't know, Kevin, when those come out. You might know, but you guys were preseason ranked number 5. In the, not Midwest, but in the Great Plains, which includes Texas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, which is pretty heady, and you end up 30th nationally. Talk to us a little bit about that. What do you think that does for your program there?
You know, it's great. I love seeing the recognition now. The boys earlier, they were all kind of posting it in the preseason on all their social media accounts and wanting me. They even made some graphics. Hey, let's put this on. And I said, we'll put it on at the end of the year. If we're still there, we'll put it on when it matters. Like I said, it's always great getting that recognition. We're going to get that recognition. We had some really, really high-level players. And obviously coming back off of winning the state championship last year, we had a bunch of those dudes back. So I knew there would be a bunch of that recognition, but no reason for me to throw some stuff out there to make the bullseye even bigger than it was coming into the year. So it's awesome now for sure. I'm glad we're there.
Let's talk about this. I'm unfamiliar with this. Maybe Matt, Kevin knows these things, but you had a coach, I guess, that passed away here recently, and I saw that on your account. Can you tell us a little bit about that and the motivation that kind of brought to your guys?
Sure. Yeah. Coach Rob James, he was our assistant coach. He got diagnosed with sarcoma about 4 years ago. And at that point, we started we had a volleyball game. I remember having a big volleyball game, a fight for the cure volleyball game pretty quick after he got diagnosed. So I kind of looked for some slogans and came up with the Ready for Battle slogan that we used. And since then it's kind of went, heck, we were wearing the jerseys. We got jerseys and wore those, but man, he was so special to us, special to me. I can't tell you. And baseball wise, obviously taught me a ton. He was a guy that knew everybody, knew everything, but would never make you feel like he was the smartest person in the room. He made everybody feel great, dude. He was just the most positive person that you would come in contact with. So he was our pitching coach for the last few years. This year, obviously, wasn't able to be with us. He was put on hospice right as the season kind of got going. A little backstory. So 2 years ago when we lost to Liberty in the district championship, he actually went back to the doctor for some scans. We had to get our game moved up to like 1 o'clock because of the weather, so he couldn't make it. He had an appointment. Well, we ended up losing that game a couple years ago. And I just remember making the call. That's all I really cared about. Wanted to see how he was doing. And at that point, he kind of gave us some bad news. He said he got the timetable of everything. And at that point, it was 18 months, a year to 18 months. And for him, man, obviously getting the worst news of his life for him and his family. But still, we always kind of have a little deal at my house at the end of the season. Well, he came over that night. And we talked through it. He was leaving, and he told me, hey, you probably need to get you another pitching coach for next year, just in case. And literally the only time I disagreed with him, man, I was like, no. I was like, we're gonna do this together. We're gonna figure this out and make sure we follow through with this group, what we started. So he stayed with us last year. He was there the entire year. Obviously had to miss some here and there for some of his treatments and all that, but made it through. And that was just the most incredible thing to win that there with him. And then fast forward to this year, him not being able to be on the field, but we would go over, once, twice a week, try to get over to the house, bring some of the boys over. And it was always about them. It was never about his condition. Heck, he was in hospice at that point, not up for us coming over probably some of the times, to be honest, but want to talk about the games, want to talk about the boys, and just meant the world to us. For sure, it's still hard today talking about it, to be honest. Every time we take the field, and national anthems when it kind of hit me the hardest, just him not being there with us. But very special part, not just for baseball program. He also coached basketball, and just a huge supporter of Liberty North and high school athletics in general.
Well, Coach, he must be smiling down on you guys for multiple reasons, but you guys figured out the success, and I'm sure Coach James was a big part of this. The secret to getting to the state tournament is just not allowing anyone to score, and that's exactly what you guys did. And then you gave up one run in the semifinal game, and then 4 in the championship game. 2 of them were late when after you guys had the 9-2 lead. So I'm sure Coach James pretty proud of the efforts by your pitching staff and your defense. It's a team effort to keep runs off the board, and you guys obviously play defense at a high level. But that's obviously a credit to Coach James and your coaching staff as well as your pitchers.
For sure. He would have definitely been telling me all year that he was the pitching coach and I was the hitting coach. He would have reminded me of that numerous times this year for sure. But man, everybody looks at Tate for great reason. Holy cow! I mean, he's Gatorade Player of the Year. The kid allowed 2 earned runs in 59 innings. He struck out 109. So obviously, if you are starting with a guy, you're going to start with him. And when we got to the district championship, I felt so great with him because we knew we were going to throw him 3 times in a row. So if somebody beat us, they were going to earn it for dang sure. And there were some teams, man. Staley had some good at bats off of him. I thought Nixa threw some good at bats off of him down the road. But if you just look at the swings and misses off of Tate McGuire, like you can see, man, he doesn't just kid can throw at 95, but he pitches. I mean, he's got some off speed. His slider and changeup are both plus pitches. He will throw him 2-0. He'll throw him 3-1. Obviously, a huge advantage for us. But like I said, our staff was deep too. Like Andrew Agnew, who came out in the championship game, he was 7-0 on the year. We lose Jackson Downing. He's having Tommy John surgery tomorrow. We lost him about a month ago. He was our number 2, and he was pitching awesome. So we were loaded with pitching. Camden Brashear, another guy that was 6-0 that started throwing a little conference for us at the end of the year after Jackson got hurt and threw some big innings, threw in the district semifinal, pitched very well. And then anytime we could late in the game, I get the ball to Ty Wisdom, man. He's a kid that will never pitch at KU. He's a kid that if you got a radar gun on him, you're like, what's so special about him? He's throwing 84, 86. But if you watch him, he is a competitor. Holy cow. Anytime you can get him the ball, I will go down with him anytime. He had 9 saves this year. He was 9 for 9 in saves. So, I mean, so it wasn't just Tate. I mean, we had a lot of dudes that contributed to that. But, yeah, it was definitely a really good year on the mound.
I'm glad you brought up Ty Wisdom and obviously dead on obviously no one knows him better than you do. That there's a kid that's going to be a hitter and an infielder in college. Is not going to be pitching in the Big 12, but what a tough competitor. And you put him in a position, to help your team win, and you guys are going to come out on top more often than not. Was he kind of the glue guy, if you will, for your team? That's what it appears like from afar, but. Yeah,
no doubt. He's one of our. I mean, he's one of the biggest leaders we've had come through this program. Gave him the ball. I'll never forget his sophomore year. Put him in a really tough situation against Liberty. Obviously, our rival up here, and that would have been the year they won the state title. We put him in a situation where we were up a run and gave him the ball in I think it was the 6th inning, and he throws 2 innings right then. And I know Bobby and Brandy are probably thinking, "What the hell are you doing to my kid, putting him in there in this game right now?" But I mean, dude, just from start to finish, I mean, the kid is a sophomore. He has competed like that, and we knew coming in. Heck, I've followed those kids. They've come to our camps since they were kindergarten, 1st grade, and knew it was going to be a special group. Didn't know how special it would be. Did not know that this would end up happening. But yes, absolutely, he's a glue guy. He will do anything you ask him to do. Played second for us, always hitting the 3-hole. Didn't matter if he was struggling. I mean, you know how baseball is. Sometimes you struggle a little bit. There was never a chance he was coming out of that 3-hole. He was still getting on base. He was still doing everything. Didn't matter how they were pitching him. He is just a baseball kid, and is going to be very successful wherever he goes. I know Kansas, I think, brings back a lot of dudes just kind of looking at their roster, but I guarantee if they give that kid a shot, he's going to hit his way into the lineup, and you just don't keep a kid like that out of the lineup.
So the ongoing joke that we've had with your team is these kids have been there forever. These names we have been talking about for 4 years. Some of them are 3 because they're coming back. But Kevin and I have this joke of the same names we've been saying every single year for the last 3 years for Liberty North. And to you, I have this grudge against coaches in high school that don't pull up kids that are good just because they're freshmen or just because they're sophomores. And, if you're not good enough or you're stacked and they don't belong up there, that's one thing. But just to let a senior play because he's a senior doesn't do anything for the program itself. And you run a program, and I respect that, and I like it. And it's why you're successful. And you've got these kids coming back. I mean, you've got a Snyder coming back, who is Jonas. I mean, these are big-name kids. So you've built a program, and it shows. And congrats to you. I mean, not a lot of people can say they've won a state championship, much less 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely appreciate that, and that is one thing. You're correct. With our program, it's hard to play if you are not a junior or senior. I mean, that's all we had on the roster this year. But 100%, we're going to put the best kids in those positions, and I think our parents have gotten to the position where they support that, obviously, and they know. I mean, and hey, I mean, if Tennessee usually doesn't miss on dudes, Arkansas usually doesn't miss on guys in high school. But I will say, I mean, we've had some kids that are committed to college that are seniors, and other guys play over them. It's just whoever's the best fit for the team, and everybody knows that. And to go back on your other point, we bring some guys back. Yeah, we bring back Trey, we bring back Bo. Joe Hall is another name. Cole Young is another name. Those guys, those two there are going to start picking up some steam for sure too. I mean, Joe has unlimited power at the dish and plays the outfield. Cole Young played 6 positions for us this year. Started out in the outfield, and we would only play him in the infield whenever Ty came in to pitch. Well, Jackson got hurt, and he ended up at third, didn't make an error at third base for a month. And, I mean, he just played fantastic down the stretch. So definitely excited for what we bring back for sure.
So you go back a couple of years, you guys are back-to-back state champions, and you go back 2 years. So Trey, Bo, that group was freshman, Ty sophomore. You guys lost to the state champions in the district final. So you guys have, you've played at the top level 3 years in a row, more or less. That experience with those guys, losing that district championship game help moving forward, do you think? Not that you want to lose, sure, but just seeing a Carson Bill brand.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the deal with these kids, man. Like I said, they are high-level kids. There's no doubt about it. Like, everybody knows those 4 or 5 names. But, God, man, they compete at the highest level. When they get on the field, they hate losing. They are team players. And most of all, they're just awesome kids. Like, if you guys could be around these guys, if you could see Tate McGuire walk the halls at Liberty North and not know who he was, or Ty Wisdom, Trey, any of those guys, they just don't come across as, hey, I'm this kid. I may be getting drafted. I may be doing this. They are just awesome kids all across the board. They do great in the classroom. Like I said, I just love the way they carry themselves in the community. But definitely losing that game. And then, heck, we were fortunate enough last year to beat Carson. And he pitched all 3 games against us. We won all 3 of those games. I think we only got him once. We got the bullpen. Or he only pitched 2 of those games, I guess. You talk about a talent, man, and that's those competing against the best out there, because there's no doubt in my mind he was the best pitcher last year, and we'd see him. I think one of the games we won 2-1 and had 3 hits, none of them left the infield. But heck, we take it. You scrap away and you put balls in play and all that stuff. But yeah, just awesome kids, and it's awesome. Like I said, at the end of the year, to look back now having that senior class and knowing we missed them their freshman year with COVID. Holy cow, what could they have done? Because a couple of those guys would have played then. And our roster that year was going to be really, really good. I had Nate Chester and a plethora of pitchers that didn't get to have their senior year. But looking back, I mean, they're 14-1 in the postseason. So that is a special group for sure.
14-1. My goodness.
Yeah.
Coach, we talk about building culture a lot. And, Kevin was a coach. Matt's running this program. And you got youth guys, on that side of it as well, Kevin. We talk about building culture. Coach, you were talking about the camps and the things of this nature. When you're bringing kids from so many different backgrounds and from so many different clubs in that respect, how important is it to develop those relationships with those kids, knowing where they're at in the clubs, meeting and knowing the guys that are running the clubs, coaching those things? How important is that?
Oh, it's huge. Absolutely huge. So we got back Sunday. I guess it would have been 2:30 a.m. We had to come back. We couldn't stay over because Ty Wisdom, Tate McGuire, Jacqueline Masters, Cooper Philbrick were all hopping on a plane to go to Mexico. They had their senior trip planned out. So we had to get back. So we get back late at night, and Monday we started up camps. So we got camps rolling right now. I just came back from there, and we had K through 5, and then we do 6 through 8. And in both of those groups, there's, I think, 75, 80 kids. So we were at 160 kids just with the K through 8 group out there right now. So getting to know them at an early age and just having fun with them, Yeah, we do a couple days where we try to teach them a lot of stuff, but mainly getting them around our guys. Like today is a game day out there, and they were just having a blast playing wiffle ball, playing 2-ball, you name it, just anything they can do to get around the boys and have a good time. And then in the winter we do a hitting league, so we'll bring the kids over winter break, and that's just for middle school kids. So we're getting to know them a little bit and kind of seeing what's coming up for sure. But anytime we can get those guys interacting with especially the senior leadership we had this year and some of those guys, it's always going to be a positive.
So I got a quick question. So with, you win the state championship a year ago. Sometimes you see teams fall on their face or have kind of mediocre years, I would say, after a championship. What kept you guys driven? That obviously talks about the culture there, the drive to get a second championship. What was the key to the off season and the season this year? How did you guys keep focused?
I mean, just mainly, the kids and not being satisfied. Like it was from last year after winning it, they said, we're coming back. We're doing this again. This was fun. After we won it this year, Trey's already, the first thing we're saying is I'm putting the medal over his head, and that line is, we're coming back again next year. This is awesome. We're going to do this again. So they're just, that's the way those kids are, man. I mean, we have such a good time together. Like I said, we've obviously won a lot of games with those guys. They work their tail off, but I'm honest. We went to Lawrence. We were in some rain delays. We were in Springfield together before, and the most fun I have is just sitting and talking to them. Sitting and listening to them talk, not even about baseball. And it's just fun, awesome kids that. They have a great time. They're loose. We've always been a very loose group, but when they get between the lines, they know it's a go. And here's the thing with them too, like it sucks because they are smart enough to know sometimes when games are like, they may see a lineup I throw out or just know that, this one may not be super important. So that's the one time they will let down a little bit. They kind of did over a couple of years, just when it was like, maybe this game isn't as much. So I was terrified if we lost in that Nixa game to play in the third place game. I honestly feel like that would have been a game we probably get beat 15-0. Just knowing our crew, it was. I feel like that would have been the toughest part for me as a coach to get them up for that game, knowing, oh man, we didn't win it. Why are we playing this game type deal? But man, they're just a special group. Like I said, I keep saying that over and over, but holy cow, we're going to miss those dudes for sure.
Very good. Coach, I want to we're going to talk a little bit about a couple things here as we do on our podcast. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. When we talk about baseball, and you've got a bunch of kids moving on to big time schools. I kind of try and keep my eyes. We talk a lot. I talk to a lot of different guys. There's a new recruiting rule coming up, and we're talking about baseball in this fashion. Matt's down in Atlanta. There's a lot going on here. Kevin, this is your big time of year as far as that's concerned, and everybody's moving that. High school baseball's finished, and everybody kind of transitions a little bit and recruiting. There's a new date, August 1st. The recruiting rules are changing. The time that people can contact coaches like yourself, even the coaches like Matt, there's a less the contact dates are changing. Junior year, August 1st. What do you guys think of this new rule, and how do you think it's going to change and shape the way moving forward? Matt, start with you, buddy.
I love it. It goes back to me, it goes back to the old school way where you don't have to worry about a 13 and a 14-year-old getting picked up by a coach. And no offense to any of these college coaches. I mean, once Pandora's box is opened, I mean, they all have to do it if they want to keep their job. I mean, that's the way it works, right? Like, if you're not going to get this kid at 14, somebody else is going to. So for me, it goes back to, hey, you're 14, you're 15. Let's still develop. Let's still get better. Let's still work on the things we need to work on. Let's get used to playing at an event like the NPI where there's 100 coaches walking around nonstop and you're playing the best kids in the country. And then see where you're at after that. So, and I think from the other aspect of it is it calms the parents down. Because the parents at those ages were freaking out. Well, hey, this kid committed to Mizzou. He's 14. And I'm like, well, look at the percentages. Is he going to stay at Mizzou? Probably not. So don't freak out. That's the biggest thing for me, is getting to those younger ages to let's see where the kids go. There's a lot of other angles that are going to get worked on it, where some of these coaches now are going to, okay, let's see what they're at after 16, let's see what they look like. But they're still going to look at them at 15. They're still going to ask questions about them at 15 and 16, and some of them at 14. But for the most part, for me, that's the biggest thing that I like about it.
Kevin?
I would just stop in. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No,
Coach.
let's let Ryan go first. Let's let Ryan go first. Coach Stegall go first. I think this is great because we got a club owner and a high school coach, and then I'll wrap it up. But this is great perspective, and I can't wait to hear.
Kevin wants to know what we have to say first, so he doesn't get all beat up on.
Well, hey, I'm not going to add much more. I completely agree with Matt, man. I've seen this thing go sideways many a times with these kids that are signing as freshmen or sophomores, and then they get to that point where maybe they haven't developed quite like these colleges have thought, and they just cut ties with them. They've been committed all this time, and then all of a sudden, oh, no, you're not coming here, and then they're kind of left scrambling big time. I mean, that happened to a really, really nice player out of Liberty a few years ago. He was supposed to be going to a bigger, a Power 5 school, and then right up to the end, and they called him, I believe it was like 3 or 4 weeks before, and said, no, we got, I think it was somebody out of the transfer portal. They were in the World Series or something that year and picked somebody up, and he was out. So I think the change is good. I mean, I really do. The one little frustrating part for me in being a high school coach and having some of these guys is I wish the college coaches would talk to us a little bit more. And I get it, that they're obviously in season as well. And I talk to plenty of them, so I'm not saying all the coaches don't, but I would just I wish that was part of every college coach's process, was getting our input as well as a summer coach, because I know they're out on that summer tour for sure, checking those guys out.
No pressure, Kevin. No pressure.
It might surprise some people since I work at PBR. I think this is a phenomenal role, and I think everyone or most people in our company do as well. Which we're a recruiting service. Where our job is to help aid players and coaches in the, highlight players and put a spotlight on them. This is going to eliminate so many mistakes, both by players and coaches. It's going to protect the kids. Coach Stegall is fortunate enough to have a couple of young guys that committed early on this year's team that are, by all accounts, seem to be progressing really nicely. But you're a 14 or 15-year-old right now. The only thing that you should be worried about is developing, because I tell this to kids all the time. Whoever the best 15-year-old in the country is, he isn't good enough to play at big school U right now. He needs to get a heck of a lot better. All it means is he's the best 15-year-old. Congratulations. You're about to be playing with 19 and 23-year-olds. That's who you're going to be playing with. So if you're 15, you need to get a heck of a lot better to be able to play in that game. And I have a 30,000-foot view of these players in the state, and I've seen it go every which way. I've seen it, the kid that commits to big school U or wherever as a 8th grader, a 9th grader, and then think he's the man and quit working and rest on his laurels and think that he's made it. Well, in reality, what you've really signed up to do is you better be working 2 or 3 times as hard as you were before, because now the work's really getting going. You got to get to that point when you get to that school. And not only that, you're going to have the target on your back. Like, you are welcoming in, and especially in the era of social media, where everyone, has a video on you. And, if Trey Snyder, I'm going to use him because he's undeniably one of the top players in the state. If Trey Snyder has an off game, he kicks one at shortstop, he strikes out 2 or 3 times in a ball game, then that kid over at rival school is going to say, Trey's overrated. He's a kid playing high school. It's baseball. Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, whoever, they have 3 strikeout games. It can be toxic for the psyche. So there aren't many kids that can handle that in the first place. And going back to the original point, I think in the college guys, every college coach that I've talked to is happy about this rule as well. They're doing it because they have to do it. If I'm a college coach and I decide not to do it, and Matt's a college coach and he's doing it, then he's getting ahead. So I think this is a win all the way across the board, personally.
And here's something that, just from my own experience, we're out with youth tournament baseball all the time. And Matt, you probably are aware of this, dealing with it in the clubs. I hear kids talking about going to college. As a 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old, all you should be concerned about is trying to make your high school baseball team. I mean, that's what the camps are for. And you got these kids coming in and, because I think it's fine. You got a lot of dad coaches. There's nothing wrong with that. But are we helping as clubs, and what are we doing to help the coaches that are dads that may have a little bit of knowledge? Can they do this? Can they do that? How is the help in that development process? So when that player gets to the camp, the coach can see that there's some progression. There's, what do we have to work on? How are we communicating if we're really developing the kids just simply to the high school level? We saw 2 teams, AA, playing last week, 2 weeks ago. It's Memorial Weekend. Both of them going to Lafayette High School. Pitcher for Midland, Blake Lansbaum. Young man, I'm sure you may be familiar with, Matt. I know there's a lot of kids in your program. But the kid's got, he's got a really good slider. It's if you put the gun on him, as you said, Coach, probably not blowing anybody away, but he pitches very well. That development process, how does he develop into high school? He's 14. The young man playing for the Prospects, lots of speed. He's tall, lanky kid, lots of speed, covered a heck of a lot of ground, tracked the ball phenomenally, and swings the bat pretty good. What's that development going? These are kids going to Lafayette, where it's a program they just won districts, got into the quarterfinals. How many kids are they competing against in a Lafayette where you've got 60 kids coming out to make the varsity squad? Just think of that. I mean, that to me is, how are we impressing on these youth coaches to make that impact on these kids and not be so much concerned, and I think this rule helps that thought process. Would you agree? Go ahead, Kevin.
There's a lot there.
Oh, Matt, go ahead. Yeah.
To answer your question, it'll have a trickle effect for sure, which is good, because when they start to get into 12, they start asking questions, really, and it's gotten lower to the 9s and the 10s, like you said, talking about college, where some of them need to just talk about, we don't know what high school you're going to go to right now because you might go private. What's that program look like? Have you gone to the camps? Have you gone to any other high school camps? We need to dumb it down. Like, let's not make it so complicated. You know what I mean? It's a baseball game. Get better, especially at 9, 10, 11. Kevin and I both coach a 7U baseball team because it's our kids. And you want to talk about humbling yourself as a coach. Coach some 7-year-old kids, buddy. That'll do it.
I want to know what flavor of snow cone we're having after the game, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. It ain't a snow cone in my cup after these kids, I'll tell you that. But it's one of those where it brings you back to earth on it, and it should at those ages too, of like, let's just get better. Let's just play the game, have fun, get better. And then as they get older, let's get into the other stuff. And a 12 and a 13-year-old worrying about, hey, where am I going to go to college? Why don't you worry about making your high school baseball team? And most of those kids that are worrying about where they're going to college and getting looks and going down south to play, look, they're going to go to college most likely. They're going to make their high school baseball team. But let's let them live in the moment for a little bit. At least that's my take on it.
Coach, thoughts?
Yeah, man, you hit it right on the nail again. Just, I mean, nothing wrong with having some fun playing some baseball, right? Like, I coach my daughters. You talk about needing something else in your cup besides a snow cone. I coach her in basketball, and she's now she's 10. But there's been many games, where heck, I get overboard, man. I'm super intense, but you got to look at the big scheme of things. Just go out there and have some fun with it. They're 9, 10 years old. I mean, so I try to tell myself now is if I'm on her like that I am now, is she really going to love the game, as we continue to progress with what we're shooting for her. With the high school stuff, we have 105 to 115, 120 come out each year. Like you said, once you start getting 12, 13, the focus really needs to be on how do I make a high school team? It is so tough to make a high school team. I mean, every year we are letting players go that should be playing baseball somewhere, and that's not just Liberty North, that's Liberty, that's Staley, and we are all within 5-10 miles of each other up here. And that's just the nature of the beast right now. I mean, I feel like we have a ton of talent running around, and it's just everybody's a baseball player up here, it seems like, and going that everybody's a volleyball player. Like, it's just, I kind of compare those two programs right now with Liberty and Liberty North. It's just, holy smokes, like you got to be really good just to make a high school team, just to make a high school freshman team, one of our C teams. You got to be good, and you got to put in that work. That's what I tell everybody. The work at our workouts in the off season, that ain't gonna cut it. Like, you go watch Tate and Ty and those dudes work, and Trey, and you name it, everybody else on our team. They come to our workouts. That is not the toughest part of their day. They're getting up at 5:30, 6 a.m. and going and getting their workouts in. And then after our workouts, if they don't feel like their hitting went well, they're going down somewhere else to hit. So it's a challenge for sure.
That's a great point Coach Stegall brings up, and we've talked about this on the show, and it's a little off subject, but we talk about what is perceived as possibly probably the two toughest districts in the state. And you're like, oh man, Liberty North, Liberty, Staley. A couple years ago, Park Hill South was ridiculous as well. It's like, man, you could have like 3 or 4 teams out of there that could win the state championship. I can't believe they're in the same district. Then you go across the state, it's like Howell, Zumwalt West, Liberty, Timberland, Francis House Central. It's like, man, that's loaded. What's really interesting is the guys that advance, the state champions and the guys that make the state championship game typically come out of that district. And it's because, in my opinion, you have no other option. You better rise to your level. Otherwise, they're not play to get out of that district is so challenging. You are inevitably going to end up with a ton of state champions out of those two districts. Is kind of my point. Is the competition is so high, it kind of forces you, coach, to be at your very best, right?
100%. And this year, we got the 1 seed in our district and got it exactly like we wanted it to, with Staley and Liberty playing each other, in that 2-3 game. But holy cow, Oak Park, Joe Kinder's taking them over up here. A really young guy that played at Liberty about 6 years ago, as a shortstop there. And he has them playing hard, man. That's the best I've seen an Oak Park team play. They gave us everything they wanted. That was a 2-0 game in the semifinal of that one. So absolutely. I always feel like our district, 3, 4, 5 teams, like you said, at any time can get out of that thing. So it's tough. And if you don't come ready to play, you're checking it in for sure.
We call it the district of death, Coach.
Yeah. That's about right.
And to your point, Kevin, it was 2 years ago. Howell Central was in District 3, and no offense to the other teams in there, but they won District 3. This year they were back in District 4 with Howell and Timberland and all that, and didn't come out of it with Zumwalt West. So that shows you the difference. I mean, that's no offense to other programs or whatnot, but these two districts seem to be in that same category, and there you go. And I'm sure, Howell Central, they're back in it. It'd have been tough because if they were back in District 3, it'd have been a difficult one as well. But I think these are interesting points to make, and not to mention when you're talking about kids and recruiting at this point. I was looking, and we saw this just happen, but I saw this on Twitter. Brady Piccarelli, he just decommitted from Memphis because of a coaching change. And we just saw this with, Mizzou going through a coaching change. How does that affect, the landscape? Not only do you have the portal, you got the change of the rule here now, but the portal and then coaching changes. It's going to shake up the landscape of Power 5 real quick here, isn't it?
That will, yeah. But the coaching changes, that's every year. That's something that's always been around with the coaching changes. You get a guy that leaves. That was really the kind of the pink slip everybody had to transfer, was because the coach left, or the coach before you got there was leaving, so you decommitted, which then that prevented you from having to sit out because they would approve it. Now, the transfer portal, the genie's out of the bottle. How do you get it back in? That's the question on that one, because that's a 2-hour conversation, and that is a complete disaster, and that kills high school kids. Crushes them for opportunities that some of the kids 7 years ago had that the ones now don't. But Kevin knows this. Him and I have had a lot of off-camera conversations about the disaster of the transfer portal. I don't like it because my big thing is, if I'm going to a school, that's the school I'm going to. Back in the day, if I went to, at the time, shows my age, it was called Southwest Missouri State. You didn't like it, you had transferred to a JUCO. And then you kind of worked your way somewhere else. You didn't just be like, well, he made me mad today. Now I'm going to go to Mizzou. You know what I mean? It just didn't happen like that.
This is, it's made it extremely tough on the high school player. And again, being in my position, it's kind of been interesting. And took this job right when this came on. It was clear as day. You know, I'd be going through the rankings, which I'm the first to admit they shouldn't mean as much as they do to people. But you look at a certain spot and you're like, man, 2 years ago, that kid ranked whatever used to be going to a mid-major Division I. Now he is going to a very good D2 or a junior college. The D1s are backed off. They're not taking as many guys. It is extremely rare for a freshman to positional player to get significant time at Power 5 level or extremely competitive Division I level baseball, with the exception being the guys that are the legitimate pro prospects out of high school. You will see it. Clemson has a star that hit 15 home runs this year or something. So you get the guys that were the elite prospects that had opportunities to go to pro ball and chose to go to college. Those kids still get to play. Pitching a little different, simply because there's so many extra opportunities to pitch. You're rolling out 13, 14, 15 guys sometimes in pitching, but it has definitely changed the landscape. And also on the flip side, Matt brought up the point about the unhappy kid. Well, it also works out where, hey, I'll pick out this school because I worked there, and maybe Central Missouri does a great job, identifies a kid, and gets them, develops them. Then that kid goes on to be freshman of the year, or maybe an all-conference guy as a sophomore. Well, then, bigger school notices, Power 5 notices, they take them. The top guy in the country, Tyler Skeens, was at Air Force. Now he's pitching for LSU. This happens all the time, where especially with the pitchers, the top D2 arms get gobbled up by so I get it on the the player wellness and everything for the incident, but it has created some unintended consequences, I would say.
Coach Stegall?
No, I would agree with everything you guys are saying, and I've had a few players that in the past years that are kind of being hurt by that portal, just because there's so much competition that these guys have to go up against now, rather than just like how it was, like you said, back in the day. I guess when I went to Mizzou, it was either I'm going to play at Mizzou or I'm coming home and playing at Maple Woods, one or the other. That's where I was going, and it wasn't going to work out where I could just go here and there. So totally agree. And hey guys, I am totally sorry about this, but I have a facilities meeting. Like, we are supposed to be getting turf, and I have got to get over there with Brad. He is blowing my phone up right now because I'm 5 minutes late, and it's across town, and he's like, "You got to get here. We got to get this done." And I'm like, "Well, I'm still at camp. I didn't want to tell him I was on this because that would be."
Go get turf, Coach.
Go get turf. Yeah, I'm sorry, Coach. I was trying to watch the time because I knew you had to go, and it's my fault. So,
hey, I appreciate y'all having me on. Seriously, man, it's been fun, and we'd love to do it again. And thanks for all your support and everything you guys do for the game. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
With the turf, we're going to have to get over. Yes,
with
the turf, we're going to have to get over and do a game. Like between you and Liberty.
Heck yeah. Let's go.
Live stream that bad boy. Absolutely.
All
Coach.
In. All right.
Congrats. Take care.
All right, y'all.
Hey, Coach.
Guys, I want to finish up this conversation here with this, as we're talking about the portal, Matt, and the coach there. These kids, Kevin, this goes to what you've said. You say this all the time. If you wouldn't play baseball, if you weren't playing baseball at that school, would you still go? And I think that's a fabulous way to look at that. So within this construct, And as Coach Stegall, I'm sure, is talking to these kids, Matt, when you're talking to your players, and especially these high-level guys, you got all these coaches. You're down there in this big one right now. Do you even want to go to that school? And why are you talking to that guy? We get our egos puffed up pretty good, and it's fine. I get it. But is that the school you even want to go to? Do you even know what programs they have, education-wise, things of that nature, right?
Yeah, you have those conversations with the kid. But the other conversation you have with the kid is, look, you're really good. Without the transfer portal, you're easy a D1 player. But as of, I think it was, Kevin, keep me wrong, today's what, Wednesday? Monday, there were roughly 4,000 kids in the transfer portal. 4,000 kids. So if you are let's say you're a 24 and you're 88 to 90, you're a good arm. Like, you're a really good arm.
Good. Yeah.
And Kevin's a coach, and Kevin says, hey, you know what? I'm going to take this kid from Arizona who's 90, 93, who's a junior, and I'll find another 88 to 90 kid at a high school when I want it, when I need it. I mean, that's just, it is what it is. It sucks. That's why it needs to stop. And you gotta have heart-to-hearts with kids about the school, their choice. But you throw out the number of 4,000, and they start to listen, because now they're like, oh my gosh, like, that's crazy. And it is.
I didn't know that. I didn't. And what percentage of that is D1 guys, right?
Well, Arizona just lost is it their freshman of the year, or their freshman player that they had that hit 10 home runs or something, Kevin? I think he just went to A&M.
Yeah.
I think NIL money. I'm sure they gave him a bunch of NIL money. Mm-hmm. It's a disaster.
There's the other question.
I don't know why you'd want to be a college coach right now.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Seriously, I'll say it. I don't care. Like, why would you want to be that? Why would you want to be a coach?
Unless you're at A&M or Alabama or LSU or,
But they have the same problem. They have the same problems.
Yeah, it doesn't stop. It's a problem for all of them. It's a headache.
Oh, my goodness.
Who wants it? Honestly, it's free agency. It's unlimited.
Gone are the days
agency
where you can sign a 10 to 12 player recruiting class and then start worrying about the next year.
Well, look at basketball. Like, basketball is a good. Look at this last year in the tournament. All the mid-major D1s that beat top Power 5 schools in the tournament. So you get like St. Anthony of Delaware, which we've never heard of, and that's not a school. I'm just making it up. But they've got, look at their roster. Well, look how good all these kids are. Well, yeah, you look at the roster. This kid was at Arizona. This kid was at A&M. This kid was at Florida. And they probably all knew each other from the AAU circuit. And he's like, I'm going to go to this school. You should come with me. And then we'll just go roll. And that's what they did.
And that used to be the role of the JUCO, correct?
Yeah. Well, it still
to a
is.
degree, it still is. But, when you can transfer just from, as you're saying, though it's not as much, and it may deplete that even a little more if you can transfer just from D1 to D1, right? Because of the way the portal is.
Yeah. Or a mid-major, you go off at a mid-major and, say A&M comes calling. I was like, okay, I'll go there. I just hit 25 home runs at Southeast Missouri. I'll go to A&M, or I'll go to Tech, whatever. Right?
Right.
So it's bad. It's endless conversation. At some point, it needs to stop, and they have to do something. They have to. It can't continue like this.
Well, because
coaches say, "F it, I'm not going to coach. Like, I'm not going to do this."
Would you want to coach in this, Kevin?
That's a loaded question. It's a very tough environment.
Kevin's in a
to
different
be in.
situation than I'm in. Kevin can't get away with saying what he wants to say. He's got to be careful.
No, he.
Brian's good at that.
You're
man.
welcome. Move on to the next question.
Oh, mercy. Isn't that what Nick Saban said, though? Hasn't Saban come out and said, this is ridiculous? We've done this to ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and this is
He's
the
Nick Saban. He can do whatever he wants.
Well, I understand. I get that. And I understand but when you have a coach of his caliber, I mean, he's at Alabama. He's in that position. Why would you say, I love this? I get anybody. We got NIL money out the wazoo. But he has come out against this and like, we got to fix this, but I don't know how. I don't even know if we can.
Right. He's right. You can.
Yeah. And it also gets hard to coach kids because if you're hard on a kid and sometimes they need, they can always pack up and leave.
Yeah.
There's no threat anymore.
Yeah. Because it ain't
no
like professional football where I can just cut you. You're done. I mean, you can in college, but you have that kid on scholarship. That's not basically what it's supposed to be. You're there to continue. College is still that last bastion. If you're going there, especially with baseball, you're going there instead because you weren't or you didn't like your draft position. Even if you were a top player. You wanted to go and develop more. You want to go and education is in there and whatnot. So it's a different road to that professional side if you're one of those top players. And, it's basically minor leagues. Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what we're turning into.
Without a wood bat.
That is a whole nother show, Brian, that we can get into. That can also get some people worked up.
Oh, I hate that one. I just don't. We'll talk about, but these are subjects that I think I really want to get into as we head into. This is basically, we're talking towards August 1st, the recruiting process. We're in summer baseball. This is. As you guys both know, Kevin, like you said, you're with Prep Baseball Report. And these are all the things that we're doing right now. This is that next high school baseball season's over. These kids are going to their summer programs. As we're talking with Coach Stegall, he's got a Trey Snyder. I don't know who he plays for in the summer. I really don't. But I'm sure it's a high-level team. It's the Royal Scout team. There you go. So I doubt they're there this week. They're probably taking a break, but I'm sure you'll see them around somewhere, Matt.
Yeah, they'll be around.
Right?
He might be here this weekend.
And
but they're around.
We were fortunate. We just an FYI too. We gave away our. Posted that we finally got the equipment to our subscriber winners, the DeMario family, Evan DeMario, Rockhurst High School. They were on their way to that tournament Matt's sitting at right now. They were headed down to Atlanta for the MPI. So there you go. See these top level players, they're headed to that. They think about the recruiting process in this. Am I wrong, guys?
Matt is where.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I was going to say, Matt is at the mecca of where the top talent is gathering this weekend for sure.
This is the place, honestly. I mean, this is the best event that PBR puts on by far, and it's a good one. I mean,
other than my
playing
showcase events, right?
Tournament. This tournament.
I thought you were taking a shot at me, Matt. I thought I did okay for Scout Day for you.
The best Scout days that we've experienced are from Kevin Mulder, Prep Baseball Report out of Missouri. But this is a good. There's coaches everywhere, and the teams are everywhere. I mean, last year we played East Cobb Astros in our pool. This year we get 5 stars, top national team in our pool. I mean, but you look at everybody's pool, and it's like that. I mean, that's just what it is. So, but it's good. I mean, that's what you want. That's why everybody's here.
And next week, I want to get into this because I want to talk about that next level down. You know, not everybody. These are top. This is the top talent in the country you're talking about. And I want to get into, you know, as we discuss these types of things in development, there is that level and understanding, and this goes back to this development process that I want to talk about, you know, throughout this time frame. You know, if you are at 82 to 85 as a pitcher, if you're, you know, not quite where you're at with the bat, what do you want? But what schools are you looking at? What are you thinking? Who are you talking to? How are you talking to your coaches? How are you talking to the club you're working with, your high school coach, the development process, the hitting, the pitching? How are, you know, that may be who you are. Is it going to help you get your education? Is it going to pay for something, you know, to help you in those respects? How far? And I think it's great. If you want to play baseball as long as possible and you are a solid pitcher, but you don't have that top velocity, what are you, you know, who's advising you? What are you doing and how are you looking at schools? And I don't think we talk about these things quite enough on a grander or on a larger scale. I think they happen. I think those conversations happen, but parents need to be willing to be open to those conversations more than I think they are. Is that a fair statement?
Go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely right, Brian.
There you go. Matt's like, I ain't touching that. There's one. He's like, I ain't touching that.
I'm good.
Oh, mercy. But it's fun. As we finish up here, guys, thanks. Good stuff. Matt, good luck to you this week down there, buddy.
Thank you.
You got some guys? Who are your dudes, man? Who you throwing?
Of course he has guys.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
Who you throwing game one?
We'll be okay. We'll compete.
Yeah? Not going to tell me who you're throwing game one?
Probably make the decision. I made it last night, but no.
He's not going to give it to us, Kevin. Come on, man.
It'll air after game one, so.
Yes, it will. Yeah, it'll air during game one.
Yeah. So, see, there you go. That's all right. We're looking forward to it. We're following that down there, seeing what's going on. Appreciate your time, taking time to jump on here this morning, Matt. Appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, no, thanks. Thanks for having me, as always, Brian.
Absolutely. Kevin, as always, good stuff. And, again, congratulations to Liberty North High School. Back-to-back. Man, that's just tough, folks. That's big-time stuff. To Coach Ryan Stegall, his staff, and, you know, to all those players, congrats to the Liberty North Eagles, the Class 6. And I know we're doing this because we had Coach Stegall on, but big ups to Jeff Montgomery, his staff, Class 5. I want to do this. I'm gonna put this one out there because we talked about this, Kevin, as we're finishing here. Class 2, folks, and I don't care what class you're in. This is impressive. If you didn't know, Ash Grove won the Class 2 state title, 25-0. The old goose egg. They didn't lose this year. That is, my friend, impressive. They're in the lines of impressive. You go 25-0 in baseball, you're doing something.
Yes,
absolutely.
I would agree 100%.
You know, goodness. So congrats to Ash Grove. Licking won the Class 3, 27-6 on the year. Class 4, local, John Burroughs. Congrats to John Burroughs. They swung the bats well. 28-3 on the season, finished off with the state title. Festus, of course, Coach Jeff Montgomery, his staff, beat a really good St. Francis Borgia team. That was a fun one to watch. Kudos to Coach Struckoff and his staff. We got some videos up all over social media with some of the kids there. And Jack Noby, really, that was a lot of fun to watch him. And it was just a lot of really good baseball over the championship week. So we're looking forward to going back there. And glad Coach Stegall. Hope we had some information for him to use there, Kevin. So a lot of fun, guys. Thanks again. Everybody, appreciate you watching. Remember, subscribe, like, share it out. We do appreciate it. We hope it's informative. All you pitchers, Kevin,
keep throwing strikes.
There it is. You got some advice for the hitters, Matt?
Just hit them where they ain't.
That's always good. We'll see y'all next time.